reparations is not a nicety. It's not something nice to have for black folk. It is now an absolute necessity. If you do not get reparations soon, black folk, as I told you before, are through. Reparation is not a nicety, it's a necessity. What are the conditions? What are the conditions that precipitated black folk getting into this dilemma? And what black labor, white wealth did, it tracked 800 years of history in very systematic terms to show you every strategy, every technique, every law, every public custom, and every public policy that was used to enslave black folk around the world and to maldistribute almost 100% of all this nation's wealth, power, resource, privileges, businesses, and controls of all levels of government into the hands of the dominant white society. And what slavery and Jim Crow segregation did with black folk, it intentionally maldistributed all the resources away from black folk and created a real-life monopoly game. Black folk in America are playing in a real-life monopoly game that you're totally ill-prepared to play and win.
Family, welcome to Black Star TV 2.0. It's your boy Black Star. And today I got a nice little episode for y'all, right? So again, if you not subscribed to this YouTube channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and that like button. And again, what's up to all my people in the podcast? I like to thank all of my subscribers and all the people who support the channel. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all for that. And today is a special episode because when I first became into consciousness, we're going to talk about the schools and how they're funded, right? And there was a decision made in Pennsylvania not too long ago about how they fund schools, right? So I want to take y'all on a little journey real quick before I start digging into this. So this is why this is kind of special to me, because this is how I kind of came into consciousness, or just was on my little pro-black stuff. Because at the time, I had met my ex-wife and I got out the streets. It's not like, and I started going to school for HVAC in Maryland. And I met this kid from DC. We was all in the car smoking, and he was playing Dr. Umar. I had never heard of Dr. Umar, any of these conscious dudes at the time, because I was just so endowed in the streets. I wasn't even thinking about anything conscious, right? So I listened to it. When I listened to it, I was like, damn, that's why. Because at the time, right, my ex-wife was a travel nurse. So when we landed in Maryland, my son, I have another son, biological son that lives in Maryland. And he is 2 years older than my ex-wife's son, my stepson, right? So my biological son was 2 grades above her son, and he lived in Capitol Heights, Maryland, which is the hood, right? And we was living in Columbia, Maryland, which is a prominent area. I remember my other son coming to the house, and they used to do their work or whatever. And I used to be like, damn, how are y'all on the same, y'all in the same, y'all on the same curriculum, but he's 2 grades lower than you. That's crazy. And that was just crazy to me. I just remember always thinking about that, damn, why? And then anytime, and it's so funny too, because I used to be like, Dad, why are these schools messed up over here, but these schools is good over here? And y'all in the same state, and doesn't the state get funding? They get funding for the whole state when it comes to educational money or whatever. And I'm like, all right, if you got 60 million this year, why would you give this school 14 million and then give this school over here in the hood 100,000? That just was mind-boggling to me. And I'm like, damn, that's why the schools is messed up or whatever. But I didn't know at the time, until I was listening to Dr. Umar, that the funding of the school system is based off who's paying the most property tax in that area in the state, and they get the most funding. And I was like, oh, so that's how it was working. That's why, this rich area over here, schools is way better than the people over there who don't have that much money, right? So then it was like, okay, and that is racist now when you really think about it, because that a lot of the poor people, which happen to be black people, right, live in poor areas, right? Not all of us live in poor areas, but, I live in a poor area right now, but it is what it is, right? So again, at the end of the day, I was just like, damn, that's crazy, because I never knew how that was working, but I was seeing it work firsthand. I just, didn't know why it was going on. And then I also remember my ex-wife used to be like, when she was traveling, she'd be like, I based the assignments I take based off the schools, and I was like, what you mean? She's like, if she's like, I look at them schools rankings before I even accept anything, because if the schools is whack over there, then the neighborhood is whack. And she was like, I ain't trying to do no assignment and be living in no whack ass neighborhood. And again, at this time, I wasn't privy to Dr. Umar talking about that. So I was just like, oh shit, all right, well, whatever. Boom, boom. So that kind of got me into, the whole consciousness thing. So when I seen this article the other day, right, it is showing, I want to share my screen with y'all, that Philadelphia court system has deemed the school funding system is unconstitutional, right? So it says this is an earthquake. That was Dan, I can't say that last name, of the public interest law at the press Tuesday, speaking on the ruling by Commonwealth Judge Renee Cohen Juleber. And it says the students attending low wealth districts are being deprived of equal protection of the law. And that's absolutely right. And I actually just want to go down here. I want to go down here real quick to just read something to y'all real fast. Pennsylvania's funding system depends heavily on local school districts' ability to draw funds from their own local taxpayers, with tremendous funding gaps between rich and poor districts, leading to what has been the most inequitable funding system in the nation. And pretty much all states are like this. So again, this is one way where they hide white supremacy and racism, right? Because again, when you look at it from hindsight, you're saying, oh, okay, well, the people in the poor country get the most taxes. I mean, where they paying the most taxes, they get the most funding. And it's kind of looking like, because you see some black people living in nice neighborhoods, right? Because all of us aren't, shit poor. So you will see some of that and you saying, oh, okay, well, this isn't racist. It's just, you just wouldn't really look at it like that from hindsight. But when you dig into it, the same way with the whole credit card redlining, right? They have credit card redlining where you can't discriminate on giving somebody a line of credit based off their race, but you can discriminate based off, where they're located, right? With their zip code and all of that, which, I actually have a video up about how to build your credit up. If you go back and check that video out, I actually bring up credit card redlining and a strategy that I had got off somebody, which was, to use a virtual address or a PO box in a prominent area that the median income is well above where you live at, right? And you get mail sent to that, to that address or whatever, and then you start filing for, credit cards or whatever. Applying for credit cards or whatever. So that was a strategy. And it's so funny because I'm like, yo, they always are disguising this racism without actually making it like race-based. Do you get what I'm saying? So like at the end of the day, this was crucial because it actually will give all the schools in that state equal funding, to where you have the poor schools that will be able to because again too, when you even looking at a school that's ran down, like just psychologically, it's draining, right? When you looking at it's the same with a house. If you ever played Sims, you'll know, right? Anybody who ever played Sims. But just psychologically, it's just draining to be in a messed up condition. Is the same with prison, right? But yeah, I just, I liked this because I think this is something that should have been done around the country, because again, it's nothing but racism. And when you don't understand racism, you will be confused heavily and you will be blaming the people, right? The people for their condition instead of the system, right? Because this is systematic right here, where you're saying, oh, well, whoever's paying the most property tax gets the most funding, but then all the prominent areas are majority white people. So white people are really going to have, the majority of the funding, and their schools are going to be better, and they're going to have all the new books. And do you get what I'm saying? And then this is where you have where my situation was, where my son is 2 grades higher than my other son, and then you have them on the same level of curriculum, right? So it's just, it's crazy because, man, this whole white supremacy thing is deep as hell. And again, in 2023, we are now still under the same system, and how like things just go. Like the simple fact that, this is just coming about in 2023, of one state, literally one state, talking about banning this is crazy to me. This should be banned, nationwide in every single state in the country, right? But again, I definitely wanted y'all to see that. I didn't want to make a real long video, but that was very interesting that they deemed that was unconstitutional, right? Because it is. It's nothing but, white supremacy and people just trying to hold other people back and make sure that we have a lack of resources so that we can't progress, right? And then you say, oh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but the whole system that you got is flawed in a way that targets me. Now watch this. That targets me. The school, the housing, the prison system, where you have Black people not even committing more than 25% of the crimes, but we're like 40 to 50% of the jail population, when white people are actually committing over 50% of the crimes and they're less than 40% of the jail population. It just doesn't add up. That system is flawed and is designed for particular people to be caught up in that system. And it's the same way with this whole school thing and the credit card redlining, right? You have credit card redlining where they've literally had maps to show where in the little red areas it's like, okay, we're not going to give out loans to people in those areas. See, but you already know that they're Black areas. You're targeting Black areas where poor Black people are. And again, this is all designed so now when I try to go get a loan, you're like, well, man, you just gotta you feel what I'm saying? And it's acting like it's not racist. I remember not too long ago, it was about 2000, I want to say it was like 2016, 17, might have been even 2018 or something like that. No, it was definitely before 18. But I remember an article, people was like, oh man, everything is equal. I was arguing with somebody on Facebook, and they like, oh, everything is equal. Man, people got a fair shot, this, that, and the third. And then came out with an article. They came out with an article how Wells Fargo and Chase and Bank of America all had to pay a lawsuit of, I think it was 20 something million or 40 something million for discriminating against quote unquote minorities. But it was really, they said Spanish and Black people. They was, businesses and personal loans. Like they literally lost in a lawsuit and had to pay out. And I'm talking to the person. I'm like, yo, if everything is equal, then why is this happening right now? And we in the fucking, we in 2016, 2017, like, why would this be happening if everything is equal? And then it's funny because now the people who got turned down and came out like, man, that was racist. They ain't give me that shit because I'm Black. Somebody would, like you at the time, I'm like, somebody like you would have been arguing them saying, nah, man, somebody else Black in there got one, and maybe somebody else in there Black did get one, right? Because you can't just deny every single last Black person, right? It's going to be too obvious, right? But again, that doesn't mean that people aren't being discriminated against, and at the end of the day, losing opportunity to be able to build a business or build a personal self up. Right. And you're talking about pull yourself up from your bootstraps. Meanwhile, you'll give a $20,000 line of business credit to one person, and then you won't even give another person $5,000, and they in the same they have the same, they might have the same income, and they might have the same credit score, excuse me. You feel what I'm saying? So again, we can't get caught up in the whole pull yourself up your bootstraps. That's not happening anymore. And again, we have to start calling this stuff out. These are things, because again, family, right? Reparations is the number one topic, is the number one issue that we're trying to get pushed. But we also can still be pushing other issues at the same time. And I feel like this one is very crucial because education is a lot when it comes down to, why people are, progressing at the same time, and while some people are still in the same, destitute position that, they've been in for years, right? Because again, that's called systematic white supremacy, right? And anybody who's telling you that things aren't, aren't going in our favor because of systematic white supremacy, man, they just blind to the fact, and they don't want to accept that white supremacy is, a legit threat to us, right? Because a lot of people are scared to, buck the system or, go against the grain. So it's easier to just go along and get along and say, you know what, I'm just going to try 1,000 times harder to get my kids out of poverty so they don't really got to deal with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually try to put myself in an area I barely can afford just so my kids can get a good education. No, you should be able to stay where you're at, right? You should be able to stay where you're at and still have your kids get a good education. You shouldn't have to move and break your damn self financially just to get in a position to where your kids is in a good situation. That's like crazy as hell. You feel what I'm saying? But family, I just wanted to do that. Make sure y'all hit the subscribe button. Make sure y'all hit that like button, that share button. Again, just because this isn't a reparations issue, which it low-key is a reparations issue, you want to be technical, right? This reparations would help us in this capacity because, again, right, the funding, we're getting lack of funding, and it's strategic. This funding system is strategic to enforce racism against our people. The same way I told y'all with the it's the same thing with what's that shit called? Your background check. The background check. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. That is used as a tool to be able to say, yo, you know what? Your background came back. You feel what I'm saying? It's just, that's an easy cop-out to just not deal with me or give me the same type of resources that you would give somebody else or same type of opportunity that you would get somebody else. You feel what I'm saying? And you just hiding racism under the signs of my background. You feel what I'm saying? But you hiring all these illegal immigrants that's just coming over here from another country. They could be rapos, murderers, child sex traffickers, and everything else. And you don't know because you can't really check that. But you can check me. You get what I'm saying? And it's crazy. And then he wound up getting a job over me, or she wound up getting a job over me because you using my background as the excuse with housing, with getting a job, all type of stuff. So at the end of the day, that's what it is. Family, man, peace and love, man. Peace, love, and reparations. We're going to get up out of here. It's your boy, Black Star. And make sure y'all stay tuned, family. Make sure y'all hit the podcast up. Check out the podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, man. Hit the Patreon up, Black Star TV 20, and donate to the Cash App, $ WIILLIE 0312, and PayPal.me/Black Star TV 20. Man, we up out of here, family. Y'all be easy. You heard?